This week's quick hack video is all about patellar tendinitis. So you've been having a little pain behind your kneecap and you've gone to the doctor and he or she has said, oh, well, you've got patellar tendinitis. You might want to lay off of it. Here's some anti-inflammatories or rest, ice, whatever they're saying. Here's a couple of things we might want to do as well. First, we got to understand what patellar tendinitis is. The suffix itis means inflammation, and of course the word tendon refers to that tissue that connects muscle to bone. So tendinitis is the inflamed tendon. Now that patella tendon attaches your shin bone or tibia through the kneecap and all the way up to your quadricep muscle that attaches to the front of your pelvis. So it affects the hip as well as the knee. That quadricep muscle is called your rectus femoris, and it comes down, creates the quadricep tendon over the kneecap to that patella tendon. So why is this area inflamed? Well, one thing could be is that we might find ourselves in this position too often. While I'm sitting here, what's happening at this portion of my muscles of the quadricep is that they're shortening. In fact, I'll take this wedge out because we'll be needing it later. You're going to see that even the fabric in my clothes are bunched up here. But look down here, you'll see that these areas are being stretched out, the fabric's smooth. So part of my quadricep is actually shortening up here while the other end is lengthening. Now the more I spend in this position, the more those muscles are going to take on that behavior. So when I go to stand, it's going to be harder for these muscles that have been so used to being short to get long again, as well as these muscles down here that have been so used to being long with the knee bent to actually shorten up. And we are always evolving and adapting to our environment, so the more we stay in this environment, the more that behavior is going to occur. Then we try and get up and go for a run or a walk, or we do some jump rope or whatever the case may be, and suddenly we start to develop a little problem there. So I've got this little tool to start off with. It's called a sports stick or a massage stick, and you can probably find it at any local sporting goods store or on your favorite online equipment place. And all we're going to do is we're going to stimulate a little bit of this muscle tissue, kind of like a massage, see if we can't open up some areas. Now I might try rolling out the area that's already being stretched, but consider it like bread dough, and you've already rolled this area out. It's not a bad idea, but what we might want to do is get up into the area that's all bunched up. So I might want to just start working all through my quadricep muscle, starting up at the crease of my hip and working downward to see if I can't open that up a little bit. Now that's one way of doing it. After I've rolled out, I might want to try and open up this hip. So what we can do is lower ourselves down onto the floor in a kneeling position, provided that feels okay for that knee. And in this position, I'm just going to take my pelvis and I'm just going to try and level it, meaning that the front and the back are going to be nice and level off the floor, one side not lower than the other. And in this position, I'm just going to explore what it's like to try and gain space right in the front of my hip here by gliding just slightly forward. And after that, I might, if that felt okay for my knee, I might try and do the same movement while standing. Now here you can see that my knee has a slight bend to it. So can I extend that knee? What might help is taking this little wedge that I pulled out of my pocket earlier and placing it right underneath the pad of my forefoot by my little toe. And in this position, I'm going to, again, just maintain a fairly level pelvis, and I'm just going to try and move away from that foot. And the way to do that is by pressing through that pad on my pinky toe, and instantly I begin to feel how that extends my knee. So now the knee is experiencing something that it hasn't been, which is full extension, these muscles shortening now near the knee, down on that quadricep, while the other end is feeling what it's like to open. the complete opposite of what sitting is doing to the knee. So give these couple things a try and see just how that patellar tendonitis feels.